My name is Izai-zai Ernest Yikona. I'm from Zambia. I was born in Lusaka. This year I'll be 49, and I've been in Finland for, this will be my 20th year, and I'm a musician, and I studied the media, TV and radio production and audiovisual. Yeah. I'm also the chairman for the Finnish Zambian Association, which is a friendship association.
Ayamano mwamba gaza kula chingaba mchibi sana. Mama na etupa paza mbasa mtumira kupewa tifyo muleke. Bantunga wachinga ichalo chove. Chimona kwa batinisho waichinga. Kairinga wachinga bantu gobe nisho wachinga ichalo chove. Eronga wachinga ichalo chove. Nisho waichinga. Kuta kwa tumule chingana. Instead ya kwa tumule mbela chapa muno kuya kumunta nchi. Pango biyanta nisho wala mdoloka go. Ufani tufeta kalu mbokala ilo.
You may be taken by this exotic, wonderful rhythm. It was composed by Izai-zai, and he named it Wilan Chinga. In Bemba language, it literally means do not block me. Metaphorically, it means don't get into the way of my progress. Izai-zai wrote it primarily because the producer wanted some lyrics in African language. And then he chose the topic because he sees a tendency among many people to be envious of the people's achievements and sabotage, something he often experienced himself. He chose to sing in Bemba to reach a wider Zambian audience. Izai-zai is our guest today when we talk about growing up in regions of international conflicts. And my name is Thierry Francis Mbabane, your host. Izai-zai grew up in Zambia when the country was in the middle of regional conflicts. The South of Zambia was a time bomb. There was many conflicts involving Zimbabwe, Angola, and Namibia, in which United States of America and many European countries were involved actively, mostly due to Cold War and partially neo-colonialism. A good example would be the conflict of Republic of Rhodesia, an unrecognized state, a white-dominated government led by Ian Smith, in southern of Zambia from 1965 to 1979, when it became Zimbabwe, and later Republic of Zimbabwe. Zambia have always had a key role in the development of political and social events in the South, including the Mandela era in South Africa. Conflict in that area has all the time fight of power between white and black people. You've been living in Zambia before you come here in Finland?
Yes, I left Zambia when I was 27 years old, and I lived in Zambia the whole time.
Yeah. If someone asks you describe Zambia in few words, what would you say?
A sunny country, quite lovely. A lot of landscape and natural endowment, and very friendly people. It's a country, it has its share of problems, poverty and these things, but I think it's a country with hope.
You raised up during the time when things were not really good in Zambia, Zimbabwe, Namibia, South Africa, you name it.
Yes.
So would you mind to tell me a little bit how you lived with this kind of situation during your youth or young age?
Because Zambia got independent earlier than a lot of the neighbors. So Zambia, Tanzania, and Malawi were already independent at that time. So these were part of what was called the frontline states. So Zambia was the center of activity now for the freedom fighters. This is where they came for training, and also we had a lot of refugees from these countries, like Zimbabwe especially, South Africa. Actually, ANC was headquartered in Lusaka until Mandela came out of prison, And so there was a lot of activity going on in Zambia, and like as a young guy going to school at the time, we saw a lot of people on the trains from these countries, Zimbabwe, and so singing revolutionary songs, and we also got attacked quite a lot by the Smith regime and the South African regime for supporting the struggle. During that time, we had things like curfews and blackouts and state of emergency because of the aggression from the South Africans and the Rhodesians. So it was something everybody felt. Something was going on.
What time are we talking about here?
Here we're talking about the period, the 70s. Zimbabwe got independent in 1980. I think I became more aware of my surrounding maybe when I was around 10, 11 years old. So this would be around 77, 78.
So where were you located?
In a town called Kabwe, which is not far from Lusaka, about 300 from Lusaka.
So did you experience some of activities connected to these freedom fighting?
Not directly. But there was a lot in the media. There was a lot in the news. In Kabwe, where I actually lived, there were some foiled attempts by some people to bomb the hospital where some freedom fighters were being treated for injuries and various ailments. What I experienced was what hit through the media, and what the people around me were discussing, what the people around me were talking about. Because at that time I was still quite young. I was still in school, and but much later, then when, in secondary school, we had what we call the cadet force.
The best thing about the Army Cadets for me is sports.
I do hockey, cross country, mountain biking, climbing, kayaking.
Fieldcraft, shooting, map and compass, first aid.
Going on walks around different parts of the country, carrying all the kit that you need for 3 days.
You get loads of opportunities to do so many things.
Cadet force was like a club in school, a military thing. Because of the volatile situation that we had, the regular army was quite overstretched. And then we had these people who, after school, went to national service. And this became also like a reserve army. Below that, there was something called the Home Guard. And then there was the cadet. So although we were students, We were trained in actual military skills, battle drills, platoon battle drill, section battle drill, weapons training, stripling and assembling. And this was a program in which if there was a situation where there was full-out war and the army was overstretched, we could take over the role of protecting local communities and that kind of operations. That would be the only way I could have directly participated.
Madagascar, but the only Azania
The name of this song is Azania. It's a popular instrument for black nationalists today and during the time of freedom struggle in South Africa and Rhodesia, the current Republic of Zimbabwe. The name Azania comes from an ancient Greek language and used to mean, during the time of Roman Empire, an area from eastern to southern Africa, presumably the east coast of Kenya and Tanzania, in which resided natives and later Bantu dissidents. Today, the hot topic in debate is the willing of South Africans to change the name of the country to Azania. Recently, South Africa Minister of Arts and Culture, Nathi Motwetwa, suggested that South Africa name must be changed as it's ambiguous. Of course, the idea was welcomed by black nationalists in South Africa, who, in their eyes, they don't even understand why it didn't happen during the independence, like the Republic of Namibia that changed from Southwest Africa, and the Republic of Zimbabwe that changed from Republic of Rhodesia. At least 4 other countries changed the names after independence. Tanganyika Zanzibar to United Republic of Tanzania, Upper Volta to Burkina Faso, Gold Coast to Ghana, and Dahomey to Benin Republic. Congo Kinshasa changed to Zaire and recently renamed again to Congo. On the roads of Zambia and Zimbabwe, music played a crucial role to unify fighters and communities. At the same time, it gives the reasons why it's time for liberations. It was a way to raise up morale, to educate and entertain. A good example on how music was an essential tool is the day Zimbabwe got independence, on April 18th, 1980. These specific songs were sung, danced the whole time. But also, everyone remember images of Mandela winning the elections in South Africa. Some scholars have since argued that indeed the war was won through song and dance, drama and poetry.
Asimbonanga Mandela tina laphe khona laphe hleli khona Asimbonanga Mandela tina laphe khona laphe hleli khona ithi yewena yewena nawe sofika nini lasyakho ithi yewena nawe sofika nini lasyakho Asimbonanga Mandela laphe hleli khona Asimbonanga.
During that time, Izai-zai describes himself as a very curious, rebellious, community-oriented, reformist, adventurous, very ambitious and very active with music and spreading political and cultural awareness among his peers and juniors. Of course, so many things were happening around him and his friends of the young age, either in Africa or in the United States of America.
You can blow out the candle, but you can't blow out the fire. Once the flames begin to catch, the wind will blow it high. Oh, because oh, because
Yeah, I can imagine there were so many activities in your community, so many discussion, so many thinking about Africa, about local activities, about Zambia.
Yes.
Maybe you can also share with us, during your young age, your friends, how you guys was looking at Africa. Issues in Africa, issues in your country, issues around your country.
Same. Yes. From the background of the liberation struggles, Pan-Africanism came quite naturally to us. You know, so we followed the civil rights movements in America, And we followed what was going on in South Africa, and we read a lot of books. And so our view was that Africa must be liberated by any means necessary, by the ballot or the bullet, by the Bible or the gun. See? And we also developed the view that Africa should run its own economic affairs and revise its education system, revise the economic system. Because when you look at some of the problems that we have in Africa, for example, when you talk about the gender issue, it's quite common to read somewhere that we are countries run by men for men, But nothing could be further from the truth when you actually look at the history and realize that a lot of African communities are actually matrilineal communities before the colonization came in. So these are societies where the mother's side of the family is more significant, and these are societies where actually the position of women is very powerful in the community. And in some of these communities, you find that though the king had to be a man, the idea for that was that when you go to war with other villages, having a man at the helm shows more strength. But within the community, the local politics were actually being ran by the aunt of the king, since she was the main advisor. So actually it was the leading person in the community was actually female. But when colonization came in, then came industrialization. And their interest was in mining and in railways, for transportation for the resources. So they brought about the situation where they only employed men, which left the women at home, you see. And therefore, for the women to participate in the economic system, also for them to be able to pay the hard taxes and those things, they had to be dependent on the men now who could get the money by working in the mines. So that is what caused this gender discrepancy, which we see now. You see, so in that time, we looked at this kind of things and tried to find alternative explanations to this kind of phenomena.
Yeah. If you're talking about these happenings back in the 80s, it recalls some friends of you, I guess.
Yes.
Would you mind to name some of them?
Well, there was a guy called Kizito Like, who's he was 2 years ahead of me in school. I think he was my main model around that time. He was a musician, and he was an actor in the school drama club, and he was also quite politically conscious. He was, at that time, Rasta was not a common phenomenon in Zambia, but he was already talking Rasta and Pan-Africanist. So from him I got to learn about Bob Marley and these things. But the reggae that we were interested in was the reggae that spoke about the unity of Africa and the liberation of Africa. That's what. So that's where I started to pick some of these Pan-Africanist way of thinking. And then there were friends like Mwicheka Kusa. This guy has been my friend since we were 5 years old, and so we went through all these sort of transitions together.
Yeah. Do you know what happened to them today?
Kizito is growing rice in central Zambia, and Mwicheka Kusa is a teacher.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you used to read a lot. What kind of books you were reading that time?
How Europe and the Developed Africa was one by Walter Rodney, Cry Freedom, the autobiography of Malcolm X, the philosophies and opinions of Marcus Garvey, and then there's this African writer series, Chinua Achebe and Wallace Soyinka and those guys. They were also quite politically, Ngugi wa Thiong'o, I think, from Kenya. So we read books like that as well. Things Fall Apart and The Beautiful Ones Are Not Yet Born was one of the more politically inclined, because actually that one, what that one implied was that the right kind of leaders who will do right for us are not yet born. You know, so those are the kind of books we read.